This is the day's top stories from the Barbados Today newsroom. Today, Tuesday, January 26. Prime Minister Mia Mottley this evening declared war on the coronavirus, warning that COVID-19 will not stop until Barbados puts an end to the viral illness. In a national address, she announced the country will pause for 15 days from February 3 to February 15, and a 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew will take effect. Declaring that the COVID-19 fight will cost the country between 20 to 25 million in the next few weeks, Mottley says her government's sole mission is to save lives.
We may be bruised, we may be battered, but there is no battle that we cannot win. For sure, the economy is going to be seriously affected. But as we discussed with the International Monetary Fund Fiscal Affairs Mission up to yesterday, we must spend what we will. We shall keep the receipts and be accountable. But what we are not going to do, as Madam Kristalina Georgieva has said over and over in my discussions with her, we will not sacrifice people at the altar of expediency or at the altar of simply trying to hold on to a dollar that is likely to be lost because of the level of deaths in the long run. My friends, join me in this effort. It is going to be a difficult few weeks, but I have every confidence that we shall use it for renewal, we shall use it for recommitment, we shall use it to be able to go in the houses and find the persons who need help, we shall use it to be able to ensure that we can strengthen our resolve and strengthen ourselves to make Barbados safe from COVID, from dengue, and to make you have the possibility of a bright future yet again.
Barbados now has 1,427 COVID-19 cases. Prime Minister Mottley confirmed that the new UK variant is in Barbados.
I regret, therefore, to inform you that we have also now, in addition to community spread, been informed that there are traces of the new COVID variant in tests conducted on the island as well. Minister Bostic had indicated that 10 samples were sent to CARFA, and indeed we have now received results that suggest that 3 of those 10 samples returned positive for the UK variant of the virus. We are only now one of several Caribbean islands and several countries across the world that now has this variant.
Meanwhile, there are new rules for travellers to the island.
Effective February 3rd, all persons desirous of visiting Barbados shall be permitted to board a plane only if, as has happened before, they are in a possession of a negative PCR test. But I want you to listen to me carefully. The test taken no more than 3 days prior to departure. And I'm making this clear because in some instances people have been coming with a test result dated 3 days before. We want the test to be done 3 days before, because that way we know that you fall within the 72-hour category. But it doesn't stop there. We will also introduce in Barbados a mandatory rapid antigen test on arrival, because those tests pick up persons who are positive and who can be pulled out immediately for any further action. And that takes care of the period of time of additional risk between when taking the test between then and the point of arrival. But then we don't stop there either. We are then saying that beyond that, once you have a negative test, you will then go to a government authorized quarantine center where you will then spend, and whether that is a free one or whether that is one where you pay, you will then spend a minimum of 5 nights before a PCR swab is then taken to determine whether you are suitable for safe exit from that facility. If you are positive with the rapid antigen test, then you must go immediately to Harrison's Point for assessment, because obviously you have, as others who have tested positive, to be assessed by the doctors to ensure that they can appropriately categorize where you are. And I say so because there is a view that a PCR or antigen test is just a simple issue. It is not. The doctors have insisted on assessment of patients when they have tested positive, so they may appropriately determine the type of care and the type of facility that is needed.
In other news this Tuesday, the International Monetary Fund is banking on the widespread distribution of COVID-19 vaccines to power a stronger global economic recovery this year. In its World Economic Outlook, the IMF predicts that the global economy will grow by 5.5% this year. IMF Chief Economist Jita Gopinath told today's press briefing there remains tremendous uncertainty, but there's hope that the vaccine will contain the spread of the virus and allow governments to ease lockdown and kickstart economic activity.
If vaccines and therapies were to remain effective against the virus, we may be able to exit this crisis with less scarring than was feared and arrest the divergence in prospects that we now see across and within countries. However, that's not guaranteed unless we put in have more determined policy action. Firstly, all countries must accelerate the rollout of vaccinations. The international community must act quickly to make sure that vaccinations and the logistics of delivery of those vaccinations is available globally to address what is currently a deeply inequitous distribution of access to vaccines across the world. Now, this will require ramping up production and bolstering funding for the COVAX facility and for financing the logistics of vaccine delivery.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional happenings, the Trinidad and Tobago Education Minister today announced that schools will reopen next month. More in this report from TTT News.
At a press conference held earlier, Minister Gadsby Donnelly said secondary school students from forms 4 to 6 will return to school as part of a hybrid education system starting on February 8. The hybrid model means online classes will continue, however, schools will only physically open for the completion of SBAs and practical lessons. And for those at the primary level who are due to write the secondary entrance assessment exam, the minister said those children will return to school in April.
At the primary school level, Standard 5 students only will return to their physical classrooms at the start of Term 3, which is April the 12th, 2021. Substitute teachers will be assigned to primary schools where required to assist in supervisory functions and monitoring of students to ensure compliance with protocols.
They assured all protocols are in place and schools have been issued guidelines to ensure the health and the safety of the student and the teacher population.
We are doing the best we can, and all of this in the context of looking at what's happening in the world, in the region. Schools are open, even though the pandemic is with the countries. So we are saying that we are not jumping out on a limb, we are not being irresponsible, but we are only going as much as we can and given reason, time to see the effects.
On the international front in the UK, the death toll in Britain from the coronavirus pandemic passed 100,000 people today as the government battled to speed up vaccination delivery and keep variants of the virus at bay.
It's killed more civilians in the UK than World War II.
Trial for brutality and force.
It's killed almost twice as many people as the Nazi German air raids known as the Blitz. COVID-19 related deaths in the UK have now officially passed 100,000, and people are asking why. When the novel coronavirus silently slid across the United Kingdom back in March, Prime Minister Boris Johnson initially said it could be sent packing in a matter of weeks. Fast forward 10 months later, and the country is in its third lockdown and hospitals are being compared to war zones. The UK has the highest death toll in Europe and the 5th highest in the world. In a series of investigations, Reuters has previously reported how the British government made several errors. It was slow to spot the infections arriving, and it was too late with a lockdown. People were also discharged from hospital into care homes when they were infected, spreading the disease further and to the most vulnerable. Some scientific advisors say Britain did take the right measures, but just too late.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Johnson told people they must stay at home on March 23rd, after Italy, France and Spain. And studies have since said that locking down even a week earlier could have slashed the initial death toll. Even when lockdowns were called, the government's enforcement strategy was questioned. Tougher measures for rule breakers were introduced retroactively, and the end of lockdowns meant the end of social distancing for some, with headlines of massive crowds and a complete lack of enforcement in places like beaches or street corners. A delay in enforcing mask wearing, a highly criticised test and trace app, and ultimately a new variant during the second wave were all contributing factors. Johnson has resisted calls for an inquiry into the handling of the crisis made by some doctors and bereaved families. They accuse him of reacting too slowly, failing to supply sufficient protective equipment, and bungling the testing system. Ministers argue that while they have not got everything right, they were making decisions at speed and now have one of the best global vaccination programs.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.